Hello guys, welcome to our today's presentation. I'm going to do something on trigonometry 3 and we have three examples that we're going to discuss in this presentation. And if you are new to this channel, subscribe and share the video to as many of your friends as possible. So this is the first question that we have. It reads, solve the equation 8s squared plus 2s minus 3 is equals to 0. Hence, solve the equation 8 sine squared theta plus 2 sine theta minus 3 is equals to 0. So we begin by writing the equation as 8 sine square theta plus 2s minus 3 is equals to 0. This is a quadratic equation, and when we have a quadratic equation here, we are going to use product sum factor method to help us get the two values of this s that we have been given. Now, we start by saying that the product, in this case product, we are going to multiply the first term and the last term, so the product is going to be negative 24s squared. Now what about the sum? The sum is the second term, the sum is 2s, and finally we get two factors that when you multiply they will give you the product, and when you add them you get the sum. The two values that we can multiply for us to be able to get the product as negative 24 is in fact negative if you have negative 4s, you multiply by positive 6s, you are going to get negative 24 s squared. Now we move here to the second part that says we are going to have our 8s squared. Then we also use one of the factors for s, it is negative 4s in this case, and then we have got the second factor that is 6s. Now you take away 3 and you close the bracket like this. Now let us find the common factor in the first bracket. If you check very well, the common factor is in fact 4. You can say the common factor is 4 in this case, or somebody can say the common factor is in fact 2, but in this case 4 is the most suitable. Now let us say it is 4s, we multiply by 2s, it will give us 8s, then you take away 1. We have finished with this first bracket. The second bracket, the common factor is going to be 3. It's going to be 3, and if you multiply 3 by 2s, you are going to get 6s. Now you take away 1. If you multiply 1 by 3, you are going to get 3. We proceed by saying when the two brackets are the same, we just take 1 by saying 4s. Now this is a positive plus 3. This one is equals to 0, and then you say that 2s minus 1 is equals to 0. So the purpose here, the aim here is to get the value of s. Under 4s plus 3 is equals to 0, we put like terms together by saying 4s is equals to, this is a positive, it will change to be a negative 3. Now you divide both sides by 4. Our first s is equals to negative 3 over 4, or somebody can say negative 0.75. Somebody can say negative 0.75 or negative 0.75. Now let us proceed. What about the second part? The second part, which is 2s minus 1 is equals to 0. We do the same, put like terms together. We have 2s is equals to, these are negative. When it goes to the other side, it becomes a positive 1. You divide both sides by 2 by 2. Our s is going to be a half. Somebody can say a half, or somebody can say 0.5, a half, or 0.5. Now we have got two values for what? For s. In this case, our equation, the second part says, hence solve the equation 8 sine squared theta plus 2 sine theta minus 3 is equals to 0. You realize that this equation is purely sine. It's purely sine. So there is no need of us changing. In the second part, we are going to say that we are going to write the two values for s and say s is either 0.5, or somebody can say negative 0.75. Now we want to find the sine inverse of 0.5. If you press your calculator, the sine of 0.5 is, in fact, it will give you 30 degrees. What about the sine of negative 0.7? It will give you a negative angle, and in this case we do not want a negative angle, so we are going to take 30. 30, we subtract 180. Why am I subtracting 180? This is the these are the four quadrats. We have a is here, and then we have uh, S is here, T is here, and C is here. A stands for, this simply means that sine, cosine, and tangent under this quadrat, they are positive. All of them are positive. Sorry. Um, Under this second quadrat, sine is the only positive angle that we have, and under this third quadrant, it is tangent that is positive, and lastly under C, it is cosine that is positive. Now you realize that sine is positive in the second quadrant and in the first quadrant. In the first quadrant, that is where we have 30 degrees. Now in the second quadrant, now that what we obtained is a negative angle, we ignore that and then go ahead and say this is 90 and this is 90, so the sum is 180. So we are going to say that the second angle, in fact, is going to be 180. We take away 30, which is going to give us 150 degrees. So the two answers that are very important to us are, in fact, 30 degrees or 150 degrees. These are the answers that we were supposed to work out under that second part. Now let us move to the second example that says, solve the equation 6 cos squared x plus 7 sine x minus 8 is equals to 0 for x greater than or equal to 0 degrees, and the same x is less than or equal to 90 degrees. We are supposed to get the angles by the end of this discussion. Now, there is something that is very important here, which says that sine squared x plus cos squared x is equals to 1. A very important formula that we need to consider in this equation. Now, because our question is 6 cos squared x, where we see cos squared x, we want to make sure that we replace that with the sine squared x, so that all the terms here will be the same. Now let us make cos squared x the subject here. We say cos squared x is equals to 1. You take away sine squared x. Now where we see cos squared x, we replace with 1 minus sine squared x. Now we go ahead and say 6 into bracket 1 minus sine squared x, we close the bracket, plus 7 sine x. This one will give us you take away 8 is equals to 0. Take away 8 is equals to 0. We open the bracket, we have 6 um, minus 6 sine squared x plus 7 sine x minus 8 is equals to 0. We put like terms together, we have negative 6 sine squared x now plus 7 sine x 7 sine x. Yes, now this is minus 8 and then plus 6 is equals to 0. Now 6 negative 6 sine squared x plus 7 sine x. Now this one is going to be minus 2 is equals to 0. We do not want to have a negative here on this side, the first term, so we are going to remove the negative on the first term by dividing both sides by a negative, by a negative, by a negative. Now we end up having 6. We'll have 6 sine squared x now minus 7 sine x plus 2 is equals to 0. This is a quadratic equation and we are going to use product sum factor method. Now what is the product here? The first term you multiply by the last term, 6 sine squared x times 2, it will give us 12 sine squared x, and then the sum is the second term, it is going to be negative 7 sine x. What about the factors? Two numbers you can multiply to get 12 sine squared x, and when you add them they will give you 7 sine squared x. The two numbers in fact are negative 3 sine x and negative 4 sine x. These are the two numbers that when you multiply they give you a product. When you add them they will give you the sum. We go ahead and say that 6 sine squared x minus 3 sine x, we close the bracket, we open another one and say that negative 4 sine x plus 2. Now let us look for a common factor in the first bracket. The common factor is 3, so we are going to say that if you have 3 sine x outside the bracket, you multiply by 2 sine x, it will give you sine squared x, then you take away 1, then of course in this other side you will have to take negative 2 outside the bracket. If you multiply by negative 2, if you multiply this negative 2 by 2 sine x, you are going to get negative 4 sine x. And if you multiply negative 2 by negative 1, you are going to get positive 2. We proceed by saying that when the two brackets are the same, we go with 1 by saying 3 sine x minus 2 is equals to 0. And when you have 2 sine x minus 1 is equals to 0. So let us solve the first one. So it is going to be 3 sine x minus 2 is equals to 0. Put like terms together by saying 3 sine x is equals to 2. We divide both sides by 3 by 3. So we are going to have our sine x as, or our x as 2 over 3. Our x as 2 over 3 or 2 thirds. What about the next one? The next one is going to be 2 sine x minus 1 is equals to 0. 2 sine x is equals to 1. You divide by 2. You divide by 2. So our sine x is equals to a half. Now for us to get x, we have to find the sine inverse of 2 thirds and the sine inverse of a half. Now, in this case, if you find sine inverse of a half, is going to give you 30 degrees. The sine inverse of a half is going to give you 30 degrees. And the sine inverse of 2/3 is going to give us 41.81 degrees. So our final answer, we are going to say that we have got two values for x by saying x is in fact going to be 30 degrees or 41.81 degrees. If you use the unit circle, or if you follow keenly, the question is saying x is greater than or equal to 0, and at the same time it is less than or equal to 90. So the values we get for x must not exceed 90, and we have the values that obeys the rules of this question. um, Now let's move to the third question. The third question says solve the equation 6 cos squared x plus sine x minus 4 sine x is equals to 4 for x greater than or equal to 0, and the same x is in fact less than or equal to 180. It is less than or equal to 190, giving the answer correct to 2 decimal places. Our final answer is going to be in 2 decimal places. Now let us start. We're going to follow the same route. We're going to follow the same route by saying that we have 6 cos squared x plus sine x is equals to 4. Now in this case, we also want to make we want to make this equation have the same values by using what I introduced in our previous question, which is sine squared x plus cos squared x will give us positive 1. Now in this case, we are going to make cos squared x the subject of the formula by saying that cos squared x is equals to 1 minus sine squared x. Now where we see cos squared x, we substitute with what we have on the right hand side. So this is 6 into 1 minus sine squared x. We want to close the first bracket, and then we add to sine x is equals to 4. Let us open the bracket. 6 minus sine minus 6 minus 6 sine squared x plus sine x is equals to 4. The next thing, we put like terms together. Negative 6 sine squared x plus sine x is equals to 4. You take away 6. After that, we continue with our operation. Negative 6 sine squared x plus sine x is equals to negative 2. We want to eliminate the negative sign by dividing both sides by a negative. We divide all through by a negative. So we have got 6 sine squared x plus, no, now it is going to be minus. So we have 6 sine squared x minus sine x is equals to positive 2, positive 2 in this case. Let us write 2 like this, positive 2. Now we want to bring these two on the left hand side to make this a quadratic equation. So we proceed and say 6 sine squared x minus sine x now minus 2 is equals to 0. Product sum factor method, product sum factor method. What about the product? The product is negative 12 sine squared x, and the sum is negative sine x. Now the two numbers that you can multiply, multiply for you to get negative x and negative 12 sine squared x, and when you add the two values you get negative sine x. Those two values are negative 3 sine, negative 3 sine x. You multiply by positive 4 sine x, it will give you, it is going to give you it is going to give us negative 12 sine squared x, sine squared x. Now we proceed. What if you add the two? If you add the two, you are going to get negative 3 sine squared x plus 4 sine squared x. It is going to give us a positive. Now in this case we have to change this one positive, then this one to be negative. So the factors are positive 3 sine x and negative 4 sine x. Now let us proceed by saying 6 sine squared x plus 3 sine x. We close the first bracket, then we say negative 4 sine x minus 2 is equals to 0. Common factor in the first bracket is in fact 3 sine x into, if we multiply by 2 sine x we'll get 6 plus 1. Now in this case we are going to use a negative and say that it is negative 2. If we multiply by positive 2 sine x, it will give us negative 4 sine x, and if we multiply this by positive 1, we are going to get negative 2, negative 2. Now when the brackets are the same, we take 1. We are going to say 3 sine x minus 2 is equals to 0, and then we say 2 sine x plus 1 is equals to 0. Now let us work out the two values of x by saying that 3 sine x is equals to 2. We divide by 3, so sine x in this case is 2 over 3. And the next one, we say 2 sine x is equals to negative 1. We divide by 2 and we divide by 2 on the other side. Our sine x is going to be a negative a half. Now for us to be able to get the two values for x, we have to say we get the sine inverse of the answers that we obtained here, the sine inverse. If we get the sine inverse of 2 over 3, it is going to give us 41.81 degrees. But if you key in the sine inverse of negative a half, it's going to give you a negative angle. Now in this case we use the four quadrants by saying that we have A here, we have S here. So this is where sine is positive. We have already worked out under the first quadrant, and we have obtained the angle in the first quadrant. Now, what about the second quadrant? We all know that the second quadrant is 180 degrees. Now we take away 41.81 degrees, and we get our answer as 138.19 degrees. So the two angles that are required here, in fact, are 41.81 degrees and 138.19 degrees. Thank you for watching.